Okay, we start the week out with a rather interesting aspect. I wasn't exactly sure whether it was going to be the end of this last week or the beginning of this week. I see it's today, and that is that Mars is coming to conjoin both Uranus and the north node of the moon in Taurus. And I'm just going to read the Sabian symbol from Dan Ridger's Astrological Mandala book right off the bat, just to give you a little bit of a insight into how we may play this kind of energy, and then we'll just dive on into that. It says, anyway, the Sabian symbol reads, a new continent rising out of the ocean. The keynote, a surge of new potentiality after the crisis. The symbol need hardly be commented upon. When the mind has been emptied and light has been called upon to purify the consciousness, freed from its attachment and contaminations, a new release of life can emerge out of the infinite ocean of potentiality. The virgin space. What will it be used for? Because this is a four-stage symbol, we find it in it a suggestion of how to approach whatever new phase of life has been not only hoped for, but actually confirmed. The technique is simply to allow the infinite potential to operate in unconstrained spontaneity. This means to have reached a state in which the consciousness, rational ego, is no longer a controlling factor. These planets, well, the two planets, Uranus and Mars, Mars is energy. That is just how it rolls. It wants to essentially kick up the experience and the energetic factors in anything that it touches. Uranus has a couple of different takes on it. One is that it shakes things up. That's what it does. It shakes things up. But why does it shake things up? Part of the reason for Uranus's inclination to rattle the cage, so to speak, is that Uranus has the function of attempting to awaken us to our potential. And this often requires things to be more than just a little unsettled. And so you kind of see this Mars and Uranus energy says that don't try to put too much energy into anticipating what it is that's going to transpire, and make sure that you are grounded, because the opportunities for things to happen that you didn't expect are right there in the mix. And you put this right on, sandwiching the north node right in between it, which is, it's a destiny line. And so think of just the Sabian symbol. This is an opportunity for something quite new to develop. But it will only transpire if we willingly release our hold upon what has been. I think that's a key factor to keep in mind. This is taking place at 18 degrees of Taurus. Taurus is, it's our resource base. It's the capacity that we have to understand our connection to the things in our life. It's economics, personal economics. But as well, it also represents Mother Earth. It's the first of the earth signs. It isn't go generally out of its way to try and make a scene per se. However, because of the significance of these 3 points making this signature of something new being born, what is it that might be perceived as relevant currently here on Mother Earth that could be beneficial? I'm going to say beneficial in the long run because it's highly likely that the pendulum or the teeter-totter of life that we are on has, it's tilted, substantially in one direction. And so the awakening of something new, a new idea, a new continent being born it's not going to be comfortable for those that are so steeped in the current paradigm, because the current paradigm is, it's fading from relevance for the continuation of many life forms here on planet Earth. And this is Taurus, so all those things about planet Earth are going to be relevant. Welcome to Monday. Not exactly the lightest type energy to begin this week's ponderings, but these are opportunities that show up for those of us that are paying attention to really, tune into in an effective enough way that we don't hold ourselves back from recognizing what it is that we need to do. Let's take a look at the chart. In our chart, this is our nodal axis right now, Scorpio and Taurus. South node up here in Scorpio, north node down here in Taurus. And this is Monday, this is today. And there's our gathering of beings down there in Taurus. One of the other aspects that is worth mentioning is that you see all these orangish kind of lines that are taking place. These are inconjuncts or quincunxes, 5/12ths of a circle, and oppositions. And during this, as this week begins, there's a lot of quincunxes in the mix. And you might say, well, what the heck is a quincunx? Yeah, it's 5/12ths of the circle. So basically, if you consider from first house, Aries, to the 6th house, this is a quincunx. And so we have a fire and we have an earth element. Well, fire and earth don't generally go out of their way to tune into the same kinds of experiences or opportunities that life presents. So there, and the same goes for fire and water, the Aries to Scorpio here. Fire and water, they're not going to go out of their way to say, oh, by the way, you're so friggin' hot. This is the fire speaking, or Scorpio speaking. Do you mind if I tag along with you? And, the irony of that particular choice is that both Aries and Scorpio are ruled by the same planet, Mars, but they don't operate with Mars in the same fashion. So the quincunx is kind of like a riddle. You know, there's a some level of seemingly irreconcilable differences that are in play that that require adjustments, and possibly some ingenuity in how it is we're going to tune into that particular kind of an aspect and find a level of seemingly even possibly temporary common or in common ground where we can say, I don't entirely agree with you, but I'm going to allow, one of those points in the inconjunct to become, a consideration that is on the table right now. So, how do we find solutions in that kind of a situation? Here are some examples: training, trials, testing. It's a conundrum, because these kind of energies don't easily blend with one another, and yet they're both present in a situation that requires us to use some ingenuity in how it is we're going to be able to resolve this kind of a signature. And I'm bringing that up very specifically because these the inconjunct or the quincunx is in play. We have a quincunx here between Mars and Saturn. We have another one here between Mercury and Neptune, both Neptune and Saturn being retrograde, by the way. Moon, how we feel. It's in Virgo, the sign of, analyzing. How do we put those thoughts together in an effective enough way and having an inconjunct to what the rules and regulations or Saturn up there in Aquarius may be pondering as, oh, you said this, but when I look at what the requirements or the rules and regulations of how this thing has worked out before, I see some challenges there. Fortunately, it's in Aquarius, which, the idea of rules and regulations from the Aquarian perspective often take on the flavor of, yes, these have been the stipulations as to how things should progress in a particular situations, but might there be factors that are on the table now that haven't been on the table before, and isn't it conceivable that we might need to alter or vary the rules and regulations in some fashion to accommodate something that is trying to put in an appearance that hasn't been here before? Think on that. Mercury, how we think and how we communicate. Down here in Leo, making statements to get a response. This is Mercury doing the Leo dance. In an inconjunct, a quincunx up here to Neptune, retrograde in Pisces. The deepest, most profound level of spiritual investigation. Can you possibly perceive that there are avenues of this spiritual investigation process that could be tweaked or intrigued by possibly outlandish statements coming from that Mercury and Leo, saying, take a chance. Do something different. Don't be a stick in the mud caught in a conundrum of repetition of the same over and over process. Wake up. There are opportunities all around you all the time. Be alive. Take a chance. Okay, that's Monday. There are other aspects going on as well. Some will have a tendency not to. I focus on the exact times when aspects take place, and every once in a while I need to remind myself and you that these aspects that I talk about, they have a window of time relevance. When I focus on them as being accurate to the degree, there is depending on the speed of the planets involved, there can be windows of as much as a week or longer prior to and after an aspect taking place, that same kind of energy is in play. Just maybe the intensity of the exact aspect may not be being played up quite as adamantly as it is on that exact aspect. So here we go. Tuesday, Mercury. Oh, look, we have a new inconjunct right here from Mercury up to Pluto that is formed. What might the adventurous, chance and opportunity taking thoughts and words that are attempting to stir the pot of life for us to get a response be encountering when Pluto is brought into the equation? And Pluto's the great transformer. Pluto asks us all the time, is this experience that you are attempting to tune into as clear as you think it is? Or might there be the possibility that what you are perceiving is on its way out? And I, as Pluto, am going to show you why. I'm going to uncover buried aspects of that reality that are going to alter in some fashion what it is that you thought may have been the case. And that exposure of those hidden parts of the experience should, if you're awake enough, require you to say, why the heck did I, believe this? Well, it's the time factor. Along the way, things appear relevant and we tune into them and we utilize them for a season or so. But after, something has lost its sparkle or panache, it tends to dull in some way as far as carrying the same kind of weight that it may have had when it first showed up. And Pluto, as the great transformer, speaking to Mercury down there making statements, is saying, don't hold back, oh mercurial brother. Allow the trickster that you are to take chances for those things that you thought may have been, never changing, in reality are ever changing. And Mercury, the great change artist of the zodiac, the shapeshifter and trickster, says, whoa, that is a relief. I was, the fact that, continuation along these lines that have lost their, their ability to intrigue us, begs for change to transpire. Tuesday's a Mars day, by the way, and Mars, you can kind of see, is moved on past this aspect of Uranus and the North Node. However, it's still easily within a degree of them, so it's still in effect. Tuesday's a Mars day, remember? So this Mars has something to say even today that says that, just perhaps we may be glimpsing that new continent that is arriving, that new essence of something that hasn't been here before. And Mars in Taurus is saying, I need to pay attention to this because I have this strong desire and drive to make sure that I do not attempt to contain in any fashion this new experience that is coming. As a matter of fact, I'm Mars. I welcome it. I beckon its participation in this moment as a driving force to discover something fresh and new. The next aspect, let me just go back one day just for, more of those inconjuncts. It's the moon. The moon dancing around the zodiac. It makes aspects to all these planets because you can see we got 27, 22, 25, 19. So you got a lot of these aspects that are around 20 to 30 degrees of the signs. So as the moon moves through that last quadrant, decadent of the sign, it's going to aspect all those planets. Anyway, Thursday is a Jupiter day. And by the way, I apologize for not mentioning that on the 26th last week, Jupiter went retrograde, and I've been out working on the roof of replacing, actually removing all the old shingles and replacing them on this geodesic dome that I live in. And at 73, believe me, it is a substantial workout. I have a lot of people saying, Jeff, you shouldn't be up there on that roof. It's dangerous. And I'm kind of going, yeah, well, I've contacted roofing countries and companies, and nobody wants to touch it, which I can't blame them. It's not a box. It's anything but a box, and you've got multiple angles that you're cutting all the time on pieces, and get them so that they fit together so that it's not going to leak, because that is the key. To make sure that there are going to be no leaks coming through the ceiling. Anyway, what do we have? Oh yeah, Thursday. An energy shift. Mercury, which has been in Leo for the past 3 weeks, moves into Virgo. Virgo is a sign that it has a rulership with. You can kind of almost sense possibly a sigh of relief because of the drive of the Leonian energy and Mercury wanting to express itself out there into the world. And Virgo is just kind of like, time to chill. There's a opportunity here to reorganize our thoughts, reorganize everything that life is about. That is part of the function of Virgo. Virgo is also, of the entire zodiac, Virgo is the mentor, the one who has put together techniques and functions into ways that worked together towards something. That's what Virgo really is about. And Mercury being the ruler of Virgo and in Virgo now for the next 3 weeks is going to it's going to stimulate that capacity that we have to fine tune what it is our understanding has about the things that we are interested in. Virgo's and the sixth house is also the house of illness. It's the house of our work environment, our co-workers. This is a house of service, more along the lines of servitude. And, you know, Mercury gets a bum rap often because of the detail orientation that it has, but we all have a Mercury part within us that plays a pretty substantial role in refining our understanding and capacities of best ways to utilize something, a physical product, an idea. Mercury is ideas. These are on the table as Mercury does its dance through Virgo. This is also the first quarter moon's going to happen today. Crisis in action. And here the square of it, which is what a quarter moon is, from Leo to Scorpio. How do you want to play that? The Leo energy says, you know, be adventurous. Make children. And that doesn't just mean offspring. Although even in saying offspring, what is offspring? It can be children, but it can also be other things that have put in an appearance that are generated through what it is that you are doing and are born new as opportunity to grow into and with. And Scorpio up there, which is where the moon is, how we feel as the moon is, it's penetrating, it's secretive, it's mysterious. And so this first crisis in action has to do with how effective has your intention that you set a week ago, last Thursday, at the new moon in Leo. You know, are you still attempting to find the appropriate garb to wear? I think the first quarter moon crisis in action might have you wondering, you know, wow, I went to the store, or I ordered online, or whatever technique you happen to use to obtain, you know, something that intrigued me as, you know, and I really felt the connection that putting on this particular accoutrement, earrings, nose ring, clothes, hat, haircut, might alter what it is that I want to project out there into the world. And this first quarter square is saying, did you choose wisely? Was your action appropriate? Or did you leap? Were you affected by that Martian energy as it was sneaking up on unexpected Uranus and that destiny line of the north node of the moon in Taurus saying, tune in to Mother Earth, you know. Put on a garb that blends more into nature rather than is garishly in contrast to nature. options. What are you going to do? Because you're going to play your Leo and Scorpio and Mars in fashions that are appropriate for you based on the living that you have done to this moment. But they are still in play for you and for all of us. Finally, I just leap forward right through to the end of the week because that was the next aspects that I had. And what I see formed here or forming is Mars is forming a square with Saturn from Taurus to Aquarius. How might we work that Martian energy, which is, this is earth and air at work. Earth is form. It's that foundation that we all have the opportunity to tune into. And in true Aquarius fashion, the Saturn up there is saying, might there be energized right now, Mars, a level of attunement to this planetary energy and all the beings that live upon it that is seeking more of a in tune participation with everything as opposed to our human penchant to be a substantial detriment to most of nature and all the natural beings, which theoretically we are part of. Moments to ponder that. Could we, would we want to alter how we participate with Mother Nature? The Saturn in Aquarius could quite easily be the natural rules and regulations of life attempting to get our attention. And that Mars energy in square to it could pose some tensity, issues to arise amongst those on our wavelength who may not be appropriately ready to shift gears as much as might be being asked of us currently. Venus down here, 24 degrees, 56 minutes of Cancer, is, and the speed that Venus is moving is basically moving into a trine with Neptune. So here's a water trine that's taking place. Venus, what's our artistic view of life? How tuned in might we be to home and family and clan and our foundations? And from a Venus perspective, in either an artistic way or in the shared context of time spent with others. That's the Libra side of Venus. Venus is also the ruler of Taurus. So the Mother Earth factor is in play even here in this trine to Neptune's retrograde up there in Pisces. And we're, you know, I think of this predominantly because I live in a structure that isn't a standard structure in too many places in our Western culture. I can say that there are roundish type dwellings that exist in a lot of other cultures on the planet, not so much in our Western culture. That the experience of energy capacities that circular experiences bring about it's unique. And one of the reasons that many indigenous cultures, when they have their gathering, do it in circular format. And they do this because nobody in a circle is able to stab someone else in the back. You are facing everybody else in the circle, or you're right next door to them. There is no alternate level of reality. And the circle circle isn't static. You know, you've got a spiralic energy that is zooming up out of the circle as well as zooming down below the circle as things come into being and things are let go of, which I think is right along the lines of the type of energy that we're being asked to consider right now as this potentiality for a new birthing process that's taking place. There's a download coming from the universe that is attempting to get our attention. And we are being asked to release some of the things in Pluto fashion that are no longer relevant to us to provide room for what is new to find a home within us. This isn't, permanent. This is how life functions. It's always taking place. Something new is coming, and we need to make space in our worlds in order to allow it the opportunity to find home. That's Neptune and Neptune retrograde and Venus talking to each other on Sunday this week. That is all I have for this week's considerations. I finished one main section of this building that I'm working on, the dome, which is the hardest section of the entire building, and I am so happy to have that because it was the most problematic that I have on the dome, with leaks coming through that have been coming through for years. We have appropriate placed bucket catching, the rain when it comes. And with any luck, we are past that stage. And being past that stage, welcome to this first week of August. The Leo season is in full swing, and life is humming along. So I will see you all next week. Thanks for hanging with me.